Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Cuz You Don't Know Football. Oh, I got so excited, I'm knocking my microphone over. Listen, y'all, we got another week in the books. We got somebody coming on. We got Maul coming on. You know, he had a lot to say, so we're gonna get him on here so he can explain himself. Mooch, what's going on there?
What's good?
Big Papa, listen, man. I told everybody she was talking a whole bunch of stuff. Now I might have lied a little bit and embellished, but I don't know, it gets the crowd going. So there you go.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to know. I don't think I've talked a lot of trash in a while, actually. Kind of itching for it, but
Well, there's
yeah,
people that
we'll
think
see.
otherwise. I want you to know. So if you see them, just know where it came from.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, cool. Well, listen, man, we got week 6 in the books. Well, actually, I'll probably keep giving little updates on the Buffalo Jets game, but I wanted to film this now with you because I actually have right now, and usually I got stuff I got to do, and I'm not here till later. So I wanted to get you in here before it got too late.
Appreciate it.
So, okay, so we're gonna get week 6 going on, and then we're gonna talk about the week 7 games, and then we're gonna talk about some MVP candidates that we got for this year.
Sounds good. You're not. I can't hear anything you're saying anymore.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. All right, you can still hear me?
Yep.
All right, cool. So we're gonna start off. Oh, we didn't. I thought I had it on. So we're gonna start off with the 49ers and the Seahawks. Let me just get to my screen. And by the way, just for everybody to know, the Jets are actually up 10-7 right now. We'll see about that. Sorry, I thought my screen was there. Okay. Of course, the 49ers are rebounded from their last week loss to the Cardinals, but they won this week against the Seahawks 36-24. Brock Purdy was 18-28 for 255 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. I do not know how to say my man's name, but the guy who at the end of the game he kneeled when he said somebody said for him to kneel, and he didn't. Isaac, we're gonna call him Grendo for right now, okay? sorry, my brother, I couldn't get it out. We also had Jordan Mason. He had 9 carries for 73 yards. Oh, my man, he had 10 carries for 99 yards. Debo, he had 3 receptions, 102 yards, 1 touchdown. George Kittle had 58 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. And on the Seahawks side, Geno was 30 of 52 for 312 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Not much on the ground, but Kenneth Walker did have a rushing touchdown, but he had 32 yards rushing. And Tyler Lockett led them receiving with 65 yards, 1 touchdown. What are your takeaways from this game?
Just that, the debates about Brock Purdy and if he's a good quarterback should be put to bed. I mean, the question, it shouldn't be whether he's good or bad. It's whether he's productive in the offense, and he clearly is. The skill position players for the 49ers, they probably have the best set of skill position players in the NFL, so that obviously helps Brock Purdy's case. But just overall, he's a legitimate quarterback in the NFL. He's been in the Super Bowl. He can win in the NFL. On the Seahawks side, I mean, their defense is pretty banged up, and that showed. I think also the lack of a running game really hurts them and how they want to play what their offensive approach usually is. I like Geno Smith. I think he's really good. But when he has to throw 53 times, he's gonna, there's gonna be 2 interceptions. That's just what's gonna happen. But he played well, I thought, and I thought that the team as a whole played well to get back into the game. But ultimately they fell short.
Yeah, so the Seahawks to me, they just don't have a very good offensive line. It looks like they've kind of come back down to earth because remember they started off 3-0. So I think they just kind of are going through the hurdles throughout the season. When you look really good, then you got to figure some stuff out. I'm sure they'll get some stuff together, but they've lost 3 straight at this point. So that's how that is. With the 49ers, I mean the 49ers, it's the same conversation we're having with them that we had last year. we could be talking about our Super Bowl champion. You know what I mean? And it really depends on a lot of things. Now, yes, I do think is Brock Purdy a good quarterback? I do think that's put to bed. I don't think that's a question. But I will say this: I didn't like when everything broke down that his play also went down too. You know, I think that's what it looks like when I think we just got a little sneak peek of what it will look like if he ends up getting paid top of the league or top quarterback of the league money. Some of the pieces aren't going to be there, and he's got to be able to do that. So I did not love watching his trajectory. Although when they played the Rams, that was probably the most impressive I probably was with Brock Purdy at any point in time, but they lost, you know. But yeah. So I would like to see that improve from him.
Yeah, I get that, but I mean, how many quarterbacks look good when the rest of the offense doesn't look good? When things break down, how many quarterbacks in the NFL actually still look good? I mean, that's less than 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. He's not a top 5 quarterback. He's not one of those guys, but I think, outside of that, he's still a quarterback who you can get to the Super Bowl with him. So I put him in
Yeah, so
there.
that's more of my or philosophy conversation of when do you pay your quarterbacks or why do you pay quarterbacks, which I think that conversation should be had more because you don't if your guy's not a top 5 guy, well then why is he getting paid more than all of the top 5 next year?
Yeah, I mean,
But you gonna have to. But you're gonna have to.
that makes sense, like sort of outside of the realities of the NFL. The reality of the NFL is if you don't pay, it's always next man up as far as salaries, especially with quarterbacks are concerned. I mean, there was a year when Jared Goff and Carson Wentz were the 2 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL simply because it was their turn. I'm not saying that's fair. I'm not saying that makes the most financial sense. But that's sort of the reality, the financial reality of the NFL at the quarterback position. I would love to see as a changing of the tide where quarterbacks are evaluated financially like other players are. But that's just not the case right now.
You got that right. All right, cool. Moving on. Now, this game I actually thought was going to be more of a game. Turned out not to be. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers put belt to ass to the New Orleans Saints, 51-27. Let's get some stats. Spencer Rattler made his debut because Derek Carr got injured. He was 22 of 40 for 243 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Not much on the ground, but Alvin Kamara did have 40 yards rushing and a touchdown. Not much in the air, but Bub Means, he had 45 yards and a touchdown. That was their only touchdown. And from the Bucks side, Baker Mayfield was 26 of 30 or 24 of 36 for 325 yards, 4 touchdowns and 3 picks. The running back Sean Tucker, he was 14 carries for 136 yards, 1 touchdown. And Bucky Irvin also had a touchdown on 81 yards rushing. And Chris Godwin had 11 receptions for 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Sean Tucker also had a receiving touchdown, and so did Cade Otton. What's your takeaways from this game?
First of all, I don't think that New Orleans should play Carr anymore this season. I think they should ride it out with Spencer Rattler, see what he has for the rest of the year. He proved that he's not scared. He didn't have the greatest game, but it was his first start. It was a first start against a Tampa Bay defense that really causes problems because of the way they blitz. They cause problems for a lot of offenses. I thought he handled himself well. So my first takeaway is let's just ride with Spencer Rattler. Let's move on from Derek Carr. Get off that quarterback salary after the season, and really use this opportunity to actually reset, which is something that New Orleans has been reluctant to do in recent seasons. They continue to pay veterans who they really have no business paying, and just to keep things rolling. But what they really need to do is reset, get some young talent in there, restock the cupboard, and build for the future. As far as Tampa is concerned, I mean, they really had an offensive showing. That's for sure. Godwin really got busy in the game. It's interesting how well he plays in the slot. He's sort of has like a different body shape for what slot players usually
Mhm.
are. I mean, even
Mhm.
with big slots, he sort of is like a burly receiver for even big
Just
slots.
faster, just
And
faster too.
and he's faster, and like he really knows how to play the wide receiver position as far as running routes and stuff. And he's really able to take advantage and be productive there. Baker is Baker. I mean, I feel like didn't he have 3 interceptions in the second quarter by itself?
Yes.
Um, you know, I'm just never going to be a believer in Baker. If he's ever like really successful, I'm just going to be late to that party. Just to be
Mhm.
honest with you, he doesn't. He's actually Spencer Rattler looks like he has this problem too, where like they both look like they believe they're more athletic than they really are. So they try to scramble and they get caught. And Baker sometimes panics in those moments and you get those interceptions. But it was an overmatched New Orleans team in that spot.
Gotcha, gotcha. Sorry, I'm just rearranging my lights. I don't like that though. So I'm trying to put it. So this is just me setting this up every week. You see how it's like on my glasses when I do that? I don't want that. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to just get it right. I'm trying to get it right. Whatever. Um
You figure it out.
yeah, we've been figuring this out as we go. Okay. So so in terms of Saints, actually I actually agree with you. And this is coming from the person who was probably the loudest about Derek Carr at any given point in time. I think at 2-4, he's going to be out another 2 to 3 weeks. I don't expect them to, you know, make high leaps, and even if they do, that's actually strengthens more of why they need to play him more. I actually do agree. You know what I mean? I think they're closer to rebuilding and finally saying, all right, we're in a rebuild now more than anything else. Which I think with what they have left, this could be a beautiful thing. You know, they still have players like Alvin Kamara who they can still get stuff for. You know what I mean? They still have Chris Olave they might want to actually hang on to. But they found what's his name? Shaheed.
I think Shaheed, his last name.
Yeah. Rashid Shaheed. Yeah, Rashid Shaheed, who was a gem. You know what I mean? I think he's a great piece to hang on as well. But I definitely feel as though they should be moving on from allowing pieces on that defense more namely. Um, I'll never be a Spencer. I'll never be a Baker Mayfield guy either. But I will say, I think this might be his best season that he's had, though. Even with all this said, for me. So, I'm a huge fan of Tampa Bay's wide receiver core. If I was to build a wide receiver core, it would be a little bit closer to what Tampa Bay has right now. It's not the names. You know what I mean? I mean, of course, Mike Evans has a name, but in terms of the rest of the NFL today, his name isn't towards the top. You know, but the ability, I think the ability over exceeds the name. You know, so I really
Mhm.
love Tampa Bay's wide receiver core. Tampa, I would say the complete opposite. I think they should keep trying this. I don't know how far they really honestly can take this. But listen, I didn't think they were going to beat the Eagles in the playoffs last year. I didn't think they were going to go to the playoffs last year. So the fact they're 4-2, Baker has been a big part of that. So shout out to Baker, man. That's for me. This is the best season that I've watched Baker Mayfield honestly have.
Yeah, I mean, look, Todd Bowles is not a coach that's ever going to be there for a rebuild, I don't think anymore. So the fact that they continue to push forward with whatever talent they have and whatever talent that they can add to the team under the salary cap, I think they will continue to do that, and they should. They don't, they're not their best players are not so old that it kind of looks weird that they're paying them like it does sometimes in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they should push forward. But going back to New Orleans, remember how people were like, what was it, like the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season? People were like, "This is the greatest show on turf, part two." How like they
I
blew out
didn't hear that.
Dallas.
That one
They
I
blew
didn't
out
hear because
Dallas, and
I would have
everybody
said
thought
something
that
about
meant
that.
something.
But no, they
And
looked good the
now
first
we
two
see.
weeks.
Say what?
They looked very good the first 2 weeks. I didn't hear
Yeah,
that
but
they
look
were
at they
so hurt.
but now that the season is going on, you start to see what the Dallas Cowboys are, for instance. And
Mhm.
that blowout win doesn't look as great as it did back then. And I think they've lost 4 in a row now.
Mhm.
So they're it would be best for them to actually use this as an opportunity to hit the reset button. We'll see if they do that.
Okay. Well, you just brought up the Cowboys. I think we should talk about another ass whooping that happened over the weekend. The Detroit Lions went into Dallas and won 47-9.
Yeah,
on,
and it wasn't even
on,
that close
yeah, on Jerry Jones's birthday
in his stadium in
in
Dallas.
his stadium. I'm sure he loved his birthday. Dak Prescott, he was 17 to 33 for 178 yards, no touchdowns and 2 picks. Nothing on the ground. Leading rusher had 25 yards rushing. CD Lamb led him with 7 receptions, 89 yards, no touchdowns. Did they even do anything on defense? I usually don't even bring up like picks and stuff like that. But Donovan Wilson had a sack, you know.
Well, all right, you got to remember. So, look, this is not an excuse. They got blown out. Dallas was missing Parsons. They're missing Lawrence, the defensive end. Dallas on defense. They're missing the other starting cornerback. I think his last name is Bland. All three of those guys were out.
Yeah, Deron Bland.
Yeah. On offense, they were missing they were missing Cooks, I think. And there's the number 2 receiver that, you can laugh at whether or not that matters. They had injuries. Ultimately, this was a blowout from beginning to end, because Dallas really is rudderless at this point. They brought back their coach. They probably shouldn't have, but that's how Jerry Jones runs the business. They really don't have, like, you watch them on offense and it's like, what are they trying to accomplish? Like, I know they're trying to score touchdowns, but like what is their offensive approach? They don't do anything exceedingly well. And that's with having like maybe the best or second best or maybe third best receiver in the NFL. That's with having Dak Prescott, who I think is an elite tier quarterback. They're just, this is also the first season in a long time that their offensive line they didn't walk into the season with a dominant offensive line. So that might have something to do with it. But yeah, I mean, Dallas, I did not pick them to go to the playoffs this year, and I obviously stick by that. Detroit on offense is a well-oiled machine. They have the strong offensive line, they have the strong running game. Jared Goff is hitting receivers over the middle, deep on the outside. He basically can. At this point, he's hitting all of the passes that you can throw as a quarterback. There's no restrictions on his ability to throw the ball. Obviously, he has continuity with the offensive coordinator, who unexpectedly stayed with the team instead of taking a head coaching opportunity in the offseason. They're a well-oiled machine on offense. It's a shame on defense that Aiden Hutchinson is out for the year. That was a pretty nasty injury. Hope that he recovers. He was having a phenomenal season. I know we're going to talk about top 5 MVP candidates. He was going to be on my list. Obviously, he won't be there now because he won't be finishing the season. But I think he had 7 sacks on the season so far.
Yeah.
He was playing out of his mind. We'll see how they play on defense going forward, because they don't really have much outside of Hutchinson as far as rushing the passer. And they're a man heavy defense. So getting to the quarterback, rushing the passer is important for all that. So we'll see how they fare going forward, or if they change things up, play more zone. But a thorough ass whooping inside Jerry World.
Yeah, so I think this affects Detroit's long term. I do think they got to come down a tier for me, because when you get to December and stuff like that, you got to be able to generate a pass rush, and you got to be able to know what you can depend on. And now they got to relearn that, and I don't know if they can replace that this year. Now, in terms of the Cowboys, I also, of course, you heard me in the summer. I also didn't think the Cowboys were going to make the playoffs. Exactly what I said about Tampa Bay, about having now names that are smaller than the actual production. For me, Dallas is the complete opposite. This is once again the same conversation. This is what happens when you overpay for your quarterback. If you give Dak a new contract, some of these pieces won't be there, and it's going to happen just like that. So if you're angry that they can't even compete with 2 injuries, then pay him that money and watch what happens. And also, for me, I think the league is being very, very, very nice to CeeDee Lamb. I think he is not what his name sounds like it is. Um, yeah, exactly. So I listen. I grew up in a time where if a wide receiver had 7 receptions, that definitely was a touchdown. And once you start getting to 10, you started to get like 2 touchdowns. And CeeDee Lamb has always been a guy to me. He'll have like 11 receptions for like 150 yards and a touchdown. That's not as scary to me as a guy that can have like 7, 8 receptions and have them be 2 touchdowns. I would much rather have two like 7, 8 receptions, 89, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. There were guys that could do that, you know? So CeeDee Lamb has never been that, and people don't really hold him to that. But he's just a top 5 wide receiver, top 3, depending on how you look at it. You know what I mean? That just like that. I'm not overly impressed with CeeDee Lamb like other people are. I think he's able to get anybody in the NFL is able to get 11 receptions, 450 yards is obviously highly talented. I can tell you more than 5 receivers I would rather have than CeeDee Lamb.
You bugging. There's not 5 receivers in the NFL that you'd
That I
rather
would rather
have
have.
over. And the blame his lack of touchdowns on him. Like he's not throwing the ball. He's not calling the plays. Like that's not this is not basketball where like you can just go get the ball and go score. Like a receiver relies on others to get for that to happen. But yeah, you bugging. Like CeeDee Lamb is not 5 receivers better than CeeDee Lamb. That's insane. Anyway, I do agree that they are not using CeeDee Lamb in the best possible ways in games like this where really he's their only offensive option. They should be doing more to get him open. They should be doing more like motion to get space for him off and get him off the line of scrimmage so that and put him in the slot more so that he's playing up against not outside corners but like linebackers and safeties and slot corners and the like. Get him playing, get him going over the middle, get him catching the ball on the move because that's where he is the best, where he can be elusive after the catch. That's really his game. That's what he was coming out of college, and that's where he's the most dangerous, running after the catch.
So I just looked up while you were still talking. So just real quick, like 5 wide receivers that I would still like. This is still to include Davante Adams, who hasn't even like he's still.
Why would you have Davante Adams? Is like
because I'm more scared of Davante Adams than CeeDee Lamb.
Well, it's
Davante
Halloween,
Adams,
spooky season.
Nico Collins, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill. That's 5 right there. Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's 6. I would rather have.
You can just stop counting. You've named at least 2 receivers who actually have no business being mentioned in this conversation.
I am more
so that's fine.
Of those guys.
Amon-Ra St. Brown or better than CeeDee Lamb. Like
yes, he is.
That's I can't even begin to provide the argument. I don't even know the basis for what you're even talking about. Okay. But he will get he will get the touchdown on his 12th reception when CeeDee Lamb won't. That's the point.
The point is he gets the ball thrown his way a lot less based on their whole scheme. And what he does is more closer to overachieving than what CeeDee Lamb does, which to me, in my opinion, is more underachieving.
Yeah, I mean, Amon-Ra is used less because he's less talented, and Detroit has more weapons around him.
Okay.
They have a running game. They have a strong offensive line. They have better second and third receivers.
Okay, sounds good.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Amon-Ra.
Stay out of the fantasy football circle for these conversations.
Just keep everybody updated. The Bills are now up 13-10 on the Jets. So in the game of the week, and in this game I really wanted to talk more about. So that's why I wanted to actually save this for last. I was glad that you talked about Dallas when you did. So the Ravens, they beat the Commanders 30-23 in Baltimore. Jayden Daniels was 24 of 35 for 269 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He also led them in rushing, but that was only for like 20 yards. Zach Ertz led them in receiving with 68 yards receiving. But Terry McLaurin had 6 receptions for 53 yards and 2 touchdowns. CD
So
don't.
I guess that means that Terry McLaurin is better than
No,
CeeDee Lamb, huh?
it just means I know if he had if
It means he's
what I'm
better.
saying
No,
is
according to your math,
no, I'm about to give
to
it to
Reed
you. I'm about
math,
to tell you. I'm
Terry
about to
McLaurin
tell
is
you.
better than CeeDee
I'm about to
Lamb.
tell
That's how
you.
that
I
works.
know
A,
if CD Lamb has
B,
6 receptions for
C,
50
right? That's
for
how this works.
53
One
yards,
plus
he
one
damn
equals
sure ain't
two.
got a touchdown. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah,
He damn
yeah,
sure ain't
yeah,
got a
yeah,
touchdown.
yeah. This
Uh,
does not make sense.
CD, hey, listen, let me see it then. Lamar Jackson,
He has a
20.
whole career of seeing it. He's a
Hold
first team
on,
all
hold
pro
on,
player.
hold on.
Terry
26.
McLaurin.
Lamar was 20 and 26 for 323 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Derrick Henry was 24 carries, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. Zay Flowers led them in receiving for 9 receptions for 132 yards, no touchdowns, and Mark Andrews actually had his first touchdown of the season. I'm going to talk on this one. So, I forgot to plug in my computer. So on this one, I was very excited about this game because I really wanted to see Jayden Daniels in a game that really he was forced into. Now, everything I'm about to say is I don't like it when coaches look at rookies and say, "Save me." That's not what I think bodes success. What Jayden Daniels has done this year is nothing short of anything. And if you remember in the summer, I said if the Eagles and the Cowboys lose a certain amount of games, we could have this Jayden Daniels in Washington kind of feels like RG3 in his rookie season again. And we were looking at that.
So if the Eagles and Cowboys lose more games than the Commanders lose, that makes the Commanders better than the Eagles and
if they
Cowboys.
lose more games than they did last year. So they were both coming into this year expected to win like 11, 12 games. I'm saying that's going to come down, and it's looking like that's definitely coming down. Now,
did you pick the Commanders to win the division?
Did I pick them? No.
Okay.
I did pick the Eagles. However, I said I'm not 100% sold on that one either.
Okay.
Remember,
that's some mighty good fence sitting.
That's whatever.
Sir.
Whatever.
Mighty good.
I am impressed with what I'm seeing from them. But I do want to say, in terms of the Ravens, I love how they have responded this year. I had a lot of questions about them. When I was actually talking with them, I said, I have so many questions about them. I don't love the pick. What they've done with Derrick Henry and how they've kind of altered their offense to accommodate Derrick Henry's downhill running style. I think I was like, okay, I liked how they did that. I didn't think they were going to do that. I thought they were going to look at Lamar and say, well, this is how Lamar plays offense. You're going to have to figure it out. And they said no, and it hasn't even affected anything. And actually it's kind of bolstered the whole offense. You know, I like it. Like I said, I likened what my issue with that was with, what's my man's name? That you guys actually picked up from Dallas. When he was with Dallas, he ran for like 1,800 yards.
The running back. Yeah, and then got to Philly and
they put him in a shotgun and they just put him in that system and it never worked. And that's what I saw happening. So the fact that they put him in a pistol and Lamar Jackson's actually been under center more than I've ever seen him. But this has been a revelation. It's really been fun watching the Ravens play this year. That's what I got.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was looking forward to the game as well. I wanted to see what Jayden Daniels would do against a better defense. I thought he played really well. And he demonstrated an ability. He's not, he came in and it was like he can run, he can throw deep. Is he going to be injured? Is he too skinny? And like, all the regular questions about can the quarterback read defenses and all of that. He is doing all of the traditional quarterback stuff like better than most, if not everyone, could have expected. He's like, there were a few times during the game where the announcers like identify where he was looking off safeties and using his eyes to get linebackers to move so that he could find the curl route underneath. Like he's doing the job and he's doing it very well. The Commanders defense is not good. And so they couldn't really hold it. They definitely couldn't do anything with what Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry were had to offer for the game.
Yeah, did you see how
Um,
many like 80 yard drives they had? They're like three 80 yard drives.
yeah, and it's you play against the team that you're that's on the schedule, but that's not a good defense. That said, Jaden Daniels in the offense really kept the whole team in the game. I think what they lost, it was the final score of 30-23, I think.
Yep.
Um, that's a very respectable loss for a team that is beginning their rebuild with a rookie quarterback. And even an offensive line that's not all that great. So, I was impressed with Jaden Daniels, but also Lamar Jackson is the best player in the NFL right now.
Okay. All right, cool. I think that's a good listen. I think that's a good place to stop right there. Let me get five, and we can get to the next segment. I actually liked what you did there. That was nice. Getting back to it. Let's talk about these week 7 games. Let's start off with these Vikings and Lions. Talk to me.
So everybody, as I understand, everybody in the NFC North is at least 4-2. So they're really the division driving a lot of the narrative around the NFL right now. Lions and Vikings are the two top teams in the division, at least right now. I expect it to be actually a pretty low scoring game. I think there will be a few turnovers given just how Detroit likes to play defense, with playing man, trying to force throws into tight windows, and Sam Darnold not really being he's played well this year, but sometimes he just slips back into old Sam
Mhm.
Darnoldisms, and he gets wild with the ball. So I expect a few turnovers. I don't expect it to be as clean of a game played as maybe people would think, given the records of the two teams. When Minnesota has the ball, they're gonna try to get it to Jefferson as much as they can. I'm not convinced that they're going to be able to do that enough to prevail in the game.
So who do you have, just so I got it clear? Just so we have a clear answer.
I think the Lions are going to win.
Okay. So I actually also I agree. I thought you were gonna pick the Vikings actually. I thought the Lions are gonna win. I still struggle a little bit with the Vikings in not understanding how they're winning, because I see it, they're playing great defense. Justin Jefferson never lost a beat. Sam Darnold's playing here, right now. I mean, not really turning the ball over and stuff like that. But they're getting a lot of contributions. So I understand how they're winning, but I'm struggling with the individual parts, looking at them in their individual parts, looking at it and saying this is going to be what to expect week to week. I don't know if they're going to do like a Seahawks and start losing games, but something I think is going to give. And I do think they're going to lose this week. Especially people expecting the Lions to lose because they lost Aiden Hutchinson. I think, like I said, I do think that will affect them. But right now, I do think I'm picking the Lions this week.
Hmm.
Okay, so now we got Seahawks versus Falcons.
I think this is going to be a pretty ugly game too. I don't like, or not ugly, just disjointed. There's going to be a lot of third downs, but then third down completions. I think like a lot of it's 3rd and 11, and Geno Smith completes for 14 yards to Tyler Lockett kind of stuff. I tend to think the Seahawks going to win because I like Geno Smith more than I like Kirk Cousins. But it'll be close, and it's going to come down to whether the Seahawks get healthy bodies back, both on offense and defense. Particularly on defense, though. I think if they're able to control the run, which I know is a tall task against an Atlanta team that I think both running backs last week had over 100 yards rushing, or maybe Bijan at like 95 yards and
It could have
Tyler
been
Algier
something
at like
crazy like that.
120.
It could have been something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I know that's a tall task, but I'm picking the Seahawks to win in a close one.
Okay. Well, I'm actually picking the Falcons. I think the Seahawks got a problem. Uh, I think they're built wrong. I think they definitely, the injuries on their defense. They need some of them pieces back. We'll see how they come back or how many of them really start to come back. But offensively, I think they're built wrong. I think their offensive line is actually pretty bad. which is why they can't run the ball like you would like them to. Yes, I understand they have three very good wide receivers, but I mean, ask Joe Burrow, what's the sense of having all these wide receivers if you keep getting hit 9 times a game? So what, So I think the Seahawks really do have a problem. And I expect the bleeding to continue this week and them dropping into their fourth straight loss.
Yeah. I mean, I had Atlanta being like the 2 seed, I think, in the NFC. I had them better than I think they're actually going to be. Primarily because I don't trust their defensive line. So yeah, the Seahawks struggle along their offensive line. I just don't know that the Falcons are going to be able to take advantage of that.
Plus, and also I actually like Kirk Cousins more than Geno Smith too. So I'm a little different on that. Okay. Texans versus Packers.
I mean, that's going to be the game of the week, right? Should be.
I mean, but no, because the Chiefs and the 49ers are playing, so that's going to be the game of the week.
I guess from like a name perspective, and I know that they played in the Super Bowl last year. It's just 49ers record doesn't suggest that that's the game of the week, but all right, we can go with that. So I'm going with I think I'm going with the Packers in this one. I really like how Jordan Love is playing. I like how he's using his wide receivers. He has a way of escaping pressure, but also keeping his head up and being able to hit deep passes. His arm talent is pretty incredible. And their defense is actually coming along. And what the Texans, they're really struggling to run the ball, and they're putting the quarterback in a lot of it's 1st and 10, run the ball, and now it's 2nd and 9.
Although Joe Mixon did just run for 100 yards, but I know what you're saying. I did watch them last couple.
Say it again.
I said although Joe Mixon did rush, he had 100 yards rushing last week.
They played the Patriots, right?
Yes. No, I was just saying because it was a really inopportune time to bring up their rushing woes. After
I mean, look, the Patriots are barely an NFL team at this point. So sure, he had 100 yards last week. I would not be all that concerned about Joe Mixon going wild in Green Bay. But they're putting the quarterback in bad positions, in long 3rd down positions. I like Green Bay's defense against the Texans' offensive line. I think Green Bay's going to win it. Probably 2 scores, like 10, 13 points.
Ooh, that's something. There's something. Although on this one, I think you're going to be wrong. I think the Texans are going to win this game. Let me just make sure where it is because I wasn't.
It's in Green Bay.
It's in Green Bay. Okay. So I think the Texans, first of all, with Nico Collins being out, I think the Texans have to figure out better ways, or just in terms of what their game plan showed to be. So I think they have to run the ball, and I think when put in that situation, I mean, you know what I mean. Like it would take pressure off of C.J. Stroud. I mean, the head coach, I can't think of his name. He was your middle linebacker for years.
Ryans.
DeMeco Ryans has shown to make very good adjustments, and he's shown to have very good game plans when playing teams. So I would definitely give them that. And I think Green Bay is still figuring out. I think they're more of a rushing team than even having a talented quarterback like Jordan Love shows that their passing game can be. So I think they're still figuring it out, but I think that they will attempt to just throw the ball more. But I think they should run the ball more, which is why I think that the Texans are going to win this. Just I think from a matchup standpoint or from a game plan standpoint, I think the Texans understand a little bit more of who they are right now.
Okay. You're putting a lot on a Texans running game that has only been successful against a barely NFL team. So
I understand.
Just leave that out there for you.
But they got a very good defense, though. What do you want me to say?
They do not. They had a very good defense last year.
Yes, they do.
They don't have a very good defense this year.
But you're talking to a person who don't even like the Patriots from the whole Bill Belichick era. I'm being pretty optimistic.
They don't have a good defense.
Telling you the truth. Like,
I mean, it's not a terrible defense. It's just, it's a pretty mediocre defense.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, who we got? All right, so then finishing up, we got Chiefs versus Niners.
Yeah, I just think the Chiefs are going to beat them. Like, is it? I don't know where the game is. It in Kansas City or is it in
Keep
San
talking.
Francisco?
I'll tell you the answer in 2 seconds.
I just I know that the 49ers have
It is in San
a
Fran.
it's in San Francisco. I know the 49ers have a more talented offense across the board with the receivers. Obviously McCaffrey's not playing. Is the other running back, the one who played last year, might not be playing. Not last year, last week. Might not be playing this week either. He hurt his shoulder in the game. But regardless, Shanahan figures out how to get a running game going, so I wouldn't be too concerned about that anyway. I just like it's just going to come down to it's the 49ers are up 20-17 and Mahomes has the ball with 2:20 left and they're just going to score a touchdown and it's going to be over. Like that's just how this ends.
Okay. Well, I'm tired of looking at the matchup of the Chiefs and week in and week out and saying, well, this looks like the week that they're going to lose. And they win. Now, I will give the Ravens a caveat because I actually think they actually have a gripe. I mean, a toe out, I understand the rules, but I mean, 99% of the foot in is enough to be angry, I would say. It's got to stop somewhere, right? Like they can't run the table. Somebody's going to have to beat them, okay? And I think there's a team if there's a team that wants to beat them and wants to play them, is them. Like I said, the Chiefs, they're down to their third and fourth wide receivers, and now they're their third running back. Something's got to give, and I feel as though San Fran being at home, being comfortable, I'm picking the 49ers this week.
I mean, I just like these things, like being on the road, being at home. That doesn't really.
I mean, but what answer am I supposed to give? Like you see what I'm saying? Like the Chiefs have put us in this situation. What answer am I supposed? These are the numbers. These are the facts. These are the players, and this is the home team. It's the setup is there for the home team to win. I wouldn't feel right with myself going against all of that. Even though I probably
but the other side has the greatest quarterback of all time. So like,
he ain't the greatest yet, but I've said it. He's the best. He's the best I've ever seen.
Okay, sure. He doesn't have the Super Bowls to be called the greatest. You're right, but I think he's a better quarterback than Tom Brady was, and so I think to your point, yes, the best. The other side has the best quarterback of all time. So, I agree with all the facts that you gave. I just don't think that it will matter when the game ends. I think the
and best head coach too. I think they have the best head coach of all time too.
Andy Reid, he's up there, that's for sure. Yeah, and this is not a great 49ers team. This is not the same 49ers team from last year. I know they'll be up for it, but they also like that Super Bowl loss stings. The Chiefs will be up for it too because they were in the same Super Bowl that the 49ers were in, and by the way, won.
They were there. Yes.
So like I don't think the Chiefs are going to go undefeated this season. It's going to be a game that it's going to be some games they lose that like you're like, oh, they just kind of didn't care about the game kind of thing. Like kind of like how they lost to Las Vegas last year. It's like, oh, they're not even really.
That's a shame that we're saying that about this. This is not the greatest team on paper ever. And this is listen to how we're speaking about them as opposed to the rest of the NFL.
Mm-hmm. This is how we spoke about Tom Brady.
This ain't how I spoke about Tom Brady. You got me.
Well, okay.
This is how the conversation around Tom. You better pick somebody else.
This is how the conversation around Tom Brady went. Very rarely did he have the best team. There were like maybe 2 or 3 seasons where you're like, oh, this team is actually an elite team across the board. More times than not, it was like a very average team around him. But they all did their job, obviously. But then it's Tom Brady, just being Tom Brady, taking the team to a 13-3 record, to a 14-2 record in the bye in the first round, and they're hosting the divisional round, and they win that game 20-12, and this is how this works. It actually becomes, we're quarterback to that level. It actually becomes pretty routine.
Listen, and watch. What's going to happen is Travis Kelce's going to have 11 catches for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. Watch, and that's going to happen, and that's going to be the one thing. And he
or even more painful for San Francisco folks is going to be like he did nothing all game, and then the last 2 drives of the game he got 6 catches for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like that, like he did nothing, 0 catches, dropped 1, bounced off his face mask in the first quarter, but then the last 2 drives. 6 catches, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns, game over. Chiefs win.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to bed. I would not be able to go to bed if I allowed the Chiefs to reinvent history as I know it in the NFL. So I'm picking 49ers. I understand none of this makes sense, but I'm picking the 49ers anyway.
Okay.
Okay. So not for the segment while we all here. Yeah. Bro, we need some MVP candidates. I need your top 5 MVP candidates before we get up out of here.
Okay. At number 5, I have Derrick Henry. Just, you know, obviously he's having the season that he's having. A lot of people basically doubted that he would be able to do what he's doing now. But he's definitely surpassing a lot of those expectations. And then some. If running backs actually were able to win the MVP, I probably would have him a little bit higher. I just, you know, running back's not going to win his MVP, but he deserves a lot of recognition there. Number 4, I have Jaden Daniels, actually. Up until the game last week, he was probably the MVP leader going in. And I don't mean that just from like it being all new. He was actually playing better than probably anybody else in the NFL.
He completed 82% of his passes.
Yeah, like it's
that's better than anybody
and not easy passes and not all like feeds that are like basically lucky to be caught. You know, so like he's really, really balling. I know he's a rookie. I know it all feels new. And so like there's a lot of new car smell with him, but you know, I think he's legit. I think he's actually playing at an MVP level. My number 3 is plays for a team that is not doing well. I'll say that up front. But I think deserves a lot of recognition just for the way he's been playing. And that's Matthew Stafford. He is without Puka Nacua, without Cooper Kupp, is really orchestrating an offense that like he's operating at a level that really just from a passing and just control and command of the offense, nobody is playing at that level with him. He's just and look, they're losing the game. So if you're like nobody with a 1-4 record or whatever they have deserves to be in this conversation, I would take that and understand it and that would be that. But he's really like nobody is actually playing as well as he is, and I think he deserves that recognition. Number 2, I have Mr. CJ Stroud, because he also is operating at a level that most are not operating at. The offensive play calling is putting him in really tough situations, and he's coming through time after time again. I think he deserves that recognition as well. His team is playing a little bit better, so he probably has a little bit better chances to win the award. Mm-hmm. So that's why I have him higher than Matthew Stafford. But you know, they're both playing incredible quarterback right now. And number 1, my favorite right now, I think I referenced it earlier, is Lamar Jackson. He's the best NFL player right now. His team is winning again after an 0-2 start. And you know, he never gets the credit he deserves for being a quarterback and actually reading defenses, doing all the things that great quarterbacks do, looking off safeties and linebackers, throwing over the middle, something that my quarterback for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, just refuses to do or can't do, or the play calling just won't do for him. Lamar Jackson is doing, and he's doing it at an elite level. And then there's all the other athleticism stuff that makes him a unique player in NFL history. We might have a 3-time MVP in Lamar Jackson after the season.
Listen, I don't hate that. Listen, and in terms of, I really appreciate that Matthew Stafford pick because I said that I've said it the last couple weeks. Um, Without the Kansas City Chiefs doing exactly what they do or what they have covered up is probably the best rebuild that we've ever seen. You know, if you go back to when they won what they had to go through and who they paid and how they were paying everybody, they mortgaged their future and yeah, I mean to win that Super Bowl and they've never even missed the playoffs since, you know. So,
Yep.
so no, Matthew Stafford's been a big part of that, and I do love that. So, my MVP list for number 5 for me is Josh Allen. Um, However you feel about Josh Allen, this is a rebuild for him too. And actually, in this is he has not thrown an interception yet this season. So his I can't remember his completion percentage, but for what was supposed to be a down year for him, then he's one game out of second place in the AFC. Um Tied with the Ravens right now. Of course they're playing right now, but I do expect them to figure that out. So I got so I got Josh Allen. Next, I have you're not gonna love this one. I'm taking Sam Darnold right now. Now, I do think once again, something's got to give. I got to see the sauce on it, but I love teams that are overachieving. I love teams that you didn't expect when you don't expect them to be well. There's something going on magical there, and love it or hate it, however you would like. He's in top five in terms of touchdowns. He's top 10 in passing yards, with a defense that is backing him up right now. They're undefeated. You know what I mean? Right now, I think it'd be hard to keep somebody like Sam Darnold. I thought about Justin Jefferson too, but like because I think that's more of the sauce. But it's hard for me to pick a wide receiver on a list like that because of how much that I feel as though a wide receiver needs to be great. So then 3 for me, that's where I have CJ Stroud. Um that kid is magic. You know what I mean? He was the first person that since I've been doing on air things to make me go on and publicly apologize to, because of how wrong I was about him. He's magic. He's picking up pieces in that. And when I say going to Green Bay and winning this week, in other weeks, I feel confident putting him against pretty much any other quarterback in the NFL. Number 2, I have Derrick Henry. I think when I look at what happened with the Ravens, the fact that that I watched when I watched the first 2 weeks, Derrick Henry was in the shotgun and they were not using him like that. And I thought that was going to happen all year. Well, they put him in pistol. Lamar Jackson actually adjusted to getting under center, and it not only became seamless, but it elevated and made this whole roster look way more versatile and dangerous. So for me, Derrick Henry, and I didn't even know coming into this year if he was done, if he was washed, if that we've seen the best of Derrick Henry. Clearly, we have not because he is leading the NFL in rushing by like over 100 yards. So Derrick Henry is that. And for me, number 1, once again, I could have said this first, but I guess the suspense is there. But Patrick Mahomes, he's still my MVP leader. Yes. Once again, there's 2 undefeated teams. You can't name. It's not the roster that's going on in Kansas City. It's not the roster. Okay, the people that you are expecting to step up, they pretty much have not. The defense is very good. I will give him that. That defense is very good and has kept him in games. But there's been a lot of interchangeable pieces that somehow, some way, um, they just figure out how to keep winning, and we have to have this conversation of how they're going to lose and when they're going to lose and if they're going to lose. And they keep trucking along. You know what I mean? Most valuable means just that. Most valuable. You take Patrick Mahomes off of this team, they go. We're talking about an all-time great team, and now all of a sudden they could win 4 games. You know, so for me, yeah, absolutely. Right now, Patrick Mahomes is the MVP leader for me.
So, like I said, I mean, I have Patrick Mahomes as the best player of all time, and they're undefeated. You're right. But have you looked at his stats? Like he's averaging like 200 yards passing a game. Like it, I think it would
I understand,
it
but
would be a very interesting
it's not.
situation
We
if he
can't. But
continues to.
we can't act like he didn't do this before. And against whoever the quarterback was that was supposed to be better in this team that has more favorable matchups against his team, he still figures out how to manipulate it. Whether that means a check to a draw, a check to a run, a check to an easy pass. Because in take out wide receivers, take out running backs, put these guys in. It's always him. It's him. He's the sauce. He's the sauce. Like
I don't disagree. But something you just mentioned was like last year stuff or previous season stuff. And MVPs usually have the stats to back up them being the MVP. Now they also almost always have the wins. So I get your point on that front. And he's obviously like the best quarterback, the best player on the team. The reason why it all works on offense. He's obviously all those things. I get it. But this just feels like a season where it's like, one of those Tom Brady seasons again, where he's the best quarterback, he's the best player, but for reasons like not the greatest stats or people are just kind of tired of voting for him, he doesn't win the MVP that season. It kind of feels like that where they're like the Chiefs at this point have become we just expect them to be there at the end, that it not disqualifies, but sort of disrespects in this voting process, the way that it sometimes goes. It sort of disrespects that best player, that Patrick Mahomes in this instance. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe the season's young, so we could get there.
That just means people are bored with it. You know what I mean? And I understand that. Like, if you're just bored with the truth, it's like, well, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, we gotta like it doesn't hit the news properly. It's not gonna get ratings. It's not. But the truth is, Tom Brady, you could throw into that same conversation a lot of times. If he showed one thing, yeah, he was the most valuable player. I mean, because when he left, look what was going on there. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not going to hit ratings, but the truth is, Patrick Mahomes is the most valuable player. And what year has he not been since he started?
This year, because for me, it just boils down to the lack of like the counting stats that a player or quarterback usually has in order to win the MVP. That said, we're still early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
He could still throw for 4,000, 5,000 yards. Like it could still happen. But I just don't see it. Like he's not even in my top 5 for that reason. I just don't. Right now, I don't see it.
All right, and I just wanted to just get to his stats, just so we can see where he is. So yeah, you're absolutely right. He's 15th in passing yards. He's tied for 19th with, well, that's a lot, but he's got 6 touchdowns. There's a lot of people with like 6 or 8 touchdown passes. He also has 6 picks. You know what I mean? He still figured it out when they needed it to every single time. So
I mean, look. They could go undefeated and he have 21 touchdowns and 21 interceptions and only throws for 3,500 yards. They could go undefeated doing that because he's going to figure it out at the end. I fully believe that. That's just a different conversation for me than MVP.
Okay, that's fair. My conversation, I can respect that answer. My answer for MVP is, who do you take away and this falls apart? Niche pin players. Okay. Good. I should put that in somewhere. Niche pin players. I'm about to brand that. You see, I'm always in my branding bag. You see, I gave you some stuff. You act like you was too good for it, but that's okay. But I gave you some stuff. You need to write it down and go with it.
I'll write it down. I'll add it into some messaging, some communication, some PR stuff.
Yes.
Get it out there just for you. Just for you.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, thank you for coming again, brother. I'm gonna be down there as soon as I can. You know what I mean? Tell the boys, tell Denise and the boys, I tell them I love them all. You got anything else that you got? You got anything coming up or anything? Anything you want to talk about?
No, just a lot of hard work and trying to get to the holidays.
Got you. I understand. So everybody, you can check us out on YouTube and Spotify for the full episodes. Catch us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok for our reels. Our reels are going crazy. We get listen, we in our bag, we're figuring out some more content ideas to put out there, podcasts and other stuff. So just keep that in mind. Oh, I also gotta put you in on. I just created the Cause You Don't Know Football Facebook group. A lot of football chatter going on. It's brand new. But it's something you might want to check out too. So, with that said, good brother of mine, love you to death. You came in, you said what you said. You brought up Matthew Stafford in an eloquent way, and not too many people could do that. And with all that said, cause you don't know football. Yo, man, I appreciate you, lady death, man. Always love having you.
Good, man.
All right.